Chairman Marvin will call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. and it's noted that the meeting was posted in accordance with the open meeting law. Roll call.
Roll call.
Chairman Marvin Wolf.
Here.
Harvey Schweitzer.
Here.
Roland Keeper.
Here.
Melvin Hebron.
Here.
William Faves.
Here. Sorry.
Sudarshan Sharma.
Present.
Also present are Joe Spear from GSA Environmental and Brad Vanderkin from Waste Management.
Okay, we'll move on to approval of the minutes from our May 4th meeting. Any comments on them? Everybody should have had a copy of them.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion accepted. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public comment period. Don't see none.
I gotta buy a house, just so I can make these meetings last longer.
No, you don't.
Okay. There's no public, so we'll move on to financial report. Everybody should have got a copy of the financial report.
I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Under new business, Joe Spears report. Joe Spears, well sampling report, selection of wells.
So, Katie printed it up for us. I had roughly 72 wells to choose from. I had selected the 35. You'll see that under frequency, the first number is how many times it's been sampled, and the second number is obviously the year it was sampled last. So in that, we've got a well on 7 Mile Road that was, last time it was touched was 2009, and it's the only sampling that was done. And 2 wells that have never been sampled before, both on, one on Oakwood and one on Ryan. And then the rest, you know, I kind of had to move back and forth. So somebody pointed out that our chairperson's well is on there, and the well that's on there is the one that had VOCs in 2019. Because it's Marvin's well, we know exactly what it was doing, but I tried to keep a kind of blank view of these. So the reason I chose Marvin's well for this year is because it did have a VOCs hit, and I'm just going to pretend I didn't know that he painted his basement a month before that they did the sampling. But it's still one of those, it's still good to go back to and so on. And so some of the other ones that are like, you know, have like 7 times they've been sampled, and but worse, but you know, sampled last in 2020, like the Matika Junior well. We're doing that one because that's one of the wells that had refrigerant 12 hits in the past. So it hasn't in a while, but as long as they're willing to have it done, and the same thing with the Gellings wells, they're historic ones for that. And then the rest really just come down to, you know, relatively infrequent.
On this list, you have Dan Beaver, 8908 West Oakwood Road, toward the bottom.
Okay.
We're gonna have to change that. That property got changed Buffalo Bill. He purchased that property.
Okay. Well, that'll get taken care of in the next.
That's not his real name.
I know, but
But
Maybe me and you are the only
So-
ones that, and maybe
do you think he would?
Mel knows.
Is he the car dealer?
Maybe the rest of you guys don't know
he had
that.
Buffalo up there for a long time.
Oh, Buffalo Bill. I know her.
Okay,
Yeah, I know
Do you
her.
think
That
he's
ain't the reason why they call him that.
No.
Do you think he's unlikely to allow the sampling?
No, I think I don't know
Okay.
if he's ever responded to us, because he's right next door. He would be, let me think. 98, could be 9800,
Okay.
9802, somewhere in there.
All right.
Okay, he bought Dan's property. It was 7 acres in there, and his daughter's going to be living there.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, huh?
Dan only let us sample once in 2007.
Yeah. Well, Dan is no longer with us.
Okay.
No, when did?
About
Good. I
2
hope
years
he's not the
ago.
groundwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away about 2 years. His living girlfriend found him on the driveway dead. So, okay.
Okay.
Now, can I ask you a question? I might have brought this up to you before. Joe Manus, 92nd Street, farm.
You gave me his address, so we got it out to him this year.
Did you ever do a sample on that, ever?
Yes, when I looked it up, there was a history.
Okay,
there
okay,
there were
because-
2, but it was years ago.
Okay.
And I don't remember the years, but I did look it up when you asked
Okay,
me.
I did mention this to you before, okay.
And we talked about it at the May meeting, and I went home and
Yeah.
checked it then. So I remember clearly it had been sampled twice. And the last time it was sampled was close to 20 years ago. Pretty
Yeah.
certain it was a 2000, not a 2010 or.
Because a junior said, well, I'd like to see that because it was never tested. I said, I'm pretty sure. And you checked it. Yeah, we did
Yeah.
talk about
Yep.
that.
This
Okay.
is not the order. This is not the order.
No.
Selected, what is the
So,
number?
okay, so the
Bill,
total is 35.
Hinkle.
So my easy way to select is I put the number in, and then I have it do a sum total at the
Say
bottom.
last name.
So that way I know I had the number right.
No, Hinkle.
Oh, that says Hinkle.
It's just using the sum quotient on
That's not-
Excel.
For your Excel, okay.
Now, another.
Most of my engineering is really simplistic.
It should be Bill.
O'Day.
I don't recognize that name on many of my lists.
Can be.
God, it's gotta be what?
So Hinkle owns it now.
What do you think O'Day's
And
address
he's
is,
right
Mel?
next door.
Address you mean?
Yeah.
Today's?
The shop's
Well, he's just right down from
10415,
there.
so it's gotta be 98 maybe?
Yeah.
Something like, okay. She told me she does not want you coming and taking a sample. She likes the water and she wants to drink the water and she does not want you, I'm serious.
I'm not going.
Okay,
And if
I'm
she-
letting you know that.
If she responded to
Because
Katie
she
and I as
says,
no,
I
she's not
don't-
selected.
I don't want them to find something and then they shut the water off. I like my water, I'm still gonna drink it.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know, okay?
Who's?
Mary Rybar, which is now Mary O'Day.
O'Day's, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know him.
So she's like a mom to me, and so this was maybe a month ago she told me that.
Yeah.
If she
I'm just
responded-
letting you that know
Yeah,
this.
if she responded no or didn't respond at all, there's no way we're doing
There's
it
no
well.
way they're
Okay,
doing it.
all right.
But
Okay.
that isn't the way it works. If you find something bad, you don't shut the wells off.
No.
No, but so the way it works is if we find something bad, I try to put it on the landfill. The landfill tries to identify an alternative source, and at some point we figure out, is it bad enough that this woman can't drink out of it? Which again, we're just going to use her as an
Yes.
example. We're not going to check her well. Is it something that can be treated there, or is it something that really requires to shut off the well? So, in about 6 months, everything will be figured out, and it'll be a certain amount of money from the committee if it turns out to be the landfill is an issue, or it's a certain amount of money from the poor resident if it turns out that it's not. Because this committee would get funds for the remediation from the landfill. It would be a new account that you guys would run. Since it's never happened, we don't have an example of it. If it turns out that it's not a condition that the landfill created, then it really just falls on that property owner. The committee doesn't have anything to do to help them. The municipality has its own set of rules for it.
But it's not something the DNR comes in just because you did a test.
No.
Typically shuts the
Right.
well off.
It is not that
The
immediate.
thing is, we could pretty much figure out what her well is doing. We have property right across the street, that house, that abandoned.
Yeah.
We have property with a well there that's being tested already by the landfill. So in the proximity, she's very close to that one. So we could pretty well guess, if we get a clean report on the well, on the property we own, it's gonna also be clear over there.
Yeah.
Unless they're doing something on the property where they're introducing something into the well. See what I'm saying?
Right. We've got a property on Adeline where the guy sprays a car once every 3 years, and sure enough, TCE and toluene shows up in his well sample because his spray booth is just like Mike Penn's was. It's sprayed on top of his well cap. And I kid you not, you open the plastic and there is the wellhead. So, and Mike was the same way. Mike's is right inside the building.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing here? He goes, oh, this is where I spray. Now, you've got to be kidding me, Mike. He goes, no, it's just fine. Water tastes great. and the hits are low. But I mean, toluene is not something we want in the water. Toluene is also something that's not found in landfill leachate. But And then we've had the refrigerant 12 issue, which we haven't seen for 4 years now.
Right.
Which again, shouldn't be in the groundwater period and isn't in the leachate. I really think that's still, there's, somebody's got an old van that does the sampling, or, there's one cooler at Davies that they just keep forgetting about, that they keep their sodas in and don't think about the fact that it leaks and affects everything in their lab. So there is no immediate shutdown of a well, and there is no testing wells. These are private wells.
Mhm.
They have to say yes.
Okay.
If they say no, there's no even going back and asking them again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
If
she's
they get any
fine.
question, they can call me.
Yeah.
I know them both,
Yeah.
They can call me otherwise too, I'll go over and explain it. But by us monitoring across the street, we can pretty much guarantee that her well is good.
Well, there ain't no explaining to do. All you gotta tell her is, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure
Yeah.
every year she says no. I wouldn't offer to take her off the list because she won't own the house forever. And I don't mean that in a morbid statement.
No,
but-
everybody dies.
Right.
Right.
Or they may sell it at some date, and trying to figure out how to remind the next person down the line to put it back on. Because the landfill will be going, this program will be going long after I'm a consultant. So, looking around the table, it's going to be going long after any of us are here.
The youngest one on this table. And he'll still be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Hopefully.
Any other questions about the list? Not hearing any, do we have a motion to approve?
No, and I forgot to send her the paperwork in, and then it's like, maybe
Okay,
next
do I have a
year.
second
You know what I mean?
on the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay,
You're welcome.
motion
Never had a
passed.
pedestrian problem in the past, though. So
Landfill audit report?
On the last item, just to finish up, I will supply the 35 wells with all the extra selection crap to Brad, so he can give it to.
Okay,
What's the?
Davies.
Oh,
Davies.
are you doing it this year?
Oh, I gotta get Maddie in line, but I'll have Maddie.
No, I just want to make sure I'm communicating with the right person. Okay.
Send it to me and Maddie's. I
Great.
can get her up to speed.
So then everything will be taken care of until Davies responds back to,
right.
till Brad, and then we're out of it until then.
Yeah.
And then I come around with a new contract. So as far as the audit report goes, this time of year is just starting to pick up. Since the last meeting, it has been boring. Every landfill I go to has been boring. Brad at least is constructing, so the new cell is, you've already flipped over, right? You're already flipping clay.
Yeah, we're flipping
Yeah,
K.
so
We're
they're
half done.
That means they're at depth. And the next thing after that would be to place the plastic liner, which is what we're all looking forward to, because that's kind of like, that's the last big cost. He already has the stone piled up for leachate collection, already has the piping systems ready to go. The landfill hasn't had any major issues other than in May there was a hazardous waste liquid tipped, but the tipper self-reported. DNR was informed, everything, the issue was taken care of the way it's supposed to be. There was a fire in May, which it was some slow smoldering thing that if they had anything else out there but tarp probably would have gone out. So that's it. That's the regular roll and the excitement. The city should be seeing a nice paycheck every time I come out. It's 2,400 tons or more.
Okay.
Oh, and his leachate is way down, which is just good for the overall discussion of everything. The impact on wells and so on.
Now, is the reason for that is because it's so dry?
It's so dry, and they capped 6 and 7. So the only thing that's getting liquid added to it is the new cell, and that now is so nice and deep in waste, not deep in it's just that it takes a while for any liquids to get in to make it all the way through. I mean, there's still the same volume of liquid falling on the landfill, but now everything over 6 and 7 runs off because it's not coming in contact with waste, and that was a huge area. And the Clearwater Pond, and at one point all 3 of those were, this and those 2 were open. Now it's just the north expansion west, and that is, like I said, nice and thick, so everything takes a while to get through. When they covered that, we'll see another leachate reduction. And then they'll be whining to you about the fact that they have no place to expand.
Yeah,
That's all right. Does this landfill take contaminated dirt?
But by definition. So it's GROs, DROs, and some other minor organics. It does not take hazardous waste. And there is some soil that can be hazardous waste depending on what it's
So there's a
contaminated with.
difference there.
yeah.
So contaminated soil is not always hazardous.
Right.
Correct.
But hazardous soil is always contaminated.
Yeah, gotcha.
Now, he takes,
So there's probably three classifications. There's daily cover, which is minimal contamination that we can use on the deck and
Right.
cover things up.
it's called landfill direct as well. You'll see it in different reports.
Yeah, and then we call it direct landfill, which is contaminated that we just bury it with the trash or find a spot so that we can bury it every day. And then there's petroleum contaminated, which would be we treat it for bioremediation, which the treatment method is basically put it in a pile and let it air off, basically.
Some sites add microbes that break it down faster. And that's the stuff that we call biosoils, because it's bioremediated. So in my audits, you'll see that they've received biosoils. The lead is a great example of direct landfill. The soils that come in and they bury right away. So lead is naturally occurring in our groundwater and our soils in Wisconsin, so the disposal of lead in a landfill is considered justified. Lead, arsenic, manganese, and cobalt, cobalt's nasty stuff, but landfills can handle it. Some of the VOCs, like I mentioned, that we found in groundwater, if the soil was contaminated with that, it wouldn't be allowed to be in the landfill. That would be considered a hazardous waste.
Okay. Any other questions? Not hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the audit report?
I'll motion for it.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll move on to Brad, Waste Management's report.
All right. I guess kind of like Joe said, we're kind of getting into the swing of things here with a bunch of construction, everything going on. As far as correspondence goes, there's been some change over at the DNR. Jerry, since I've been here, and I don't know how much longer before, but he's kind of been on the solid waste side overseeing the landfill here, and he kind of just passed that off to Tony. So Jerry was on site for his last inspection, June 14th, and then Tony's been coming with him for about the last year, and he officially gave the reins over to Tony, and Tony did his first inspection on 7/25, and he came to take a look at our construction, and we also installed some new wells on the North 60, so he came for that. On top of that, we also have an air permit, so Sensen oversees our air permit, and she did a very in-depth audit. She was here for 2 days, and we're about to wrap up that audit. I think she gave us closure on that yesterday or today, so we should be wrapping that up, and no issues with any of the audits. Jerry did note on one of that he would like to see us reseed a few areas, so we'll work on reseeding that this construction season yet. Kind of lead me right into construction. Maddie took Ryan's spot, so she's here a few days a week, kind of monitoring the construction, managing the consultants, making sure we have everything we need. We're constructing cell 3B, a little bit behind schedule. There was a fairly sizable undercut. We were a big sand seam, very nice sand, just not what we wanted in the landfill. So it took us a while to dig that out and backfill that in. We added 6 leachate monitoring wells on the North 60 to basically confirm or monitor what the liquid levels are in the North 60. We do have some gas well designs planned and install planned for whenever we can get a contractor available, which is probably looking like September, October, November area, depending on how their construction season kind of pans out. And then we are working with SES engineers on possible footprints and kind of starting the process for looking for the next expansion past the Northeast expansion that we have now. there are quite a few wetlands and there are going to be some hurdles there, but started that process. So as far as normal site operations, we're currently filling kind of in 2A, 1B. We'll kind of see that on the tour today, see where we're at. Like Joe said, we're pretty stable with tonnage, about 2,500 tons a day. Residential yard overall has been operating fairly stable. I've actually been able to keep some staff on for longer than a week or two, so that helps out a lot once you get someone trained up and they leave right away. But we have been seeing a decent amount of people just throwing stuff on the curb. Even if we're closed for a day, they just pile stuff up out in front of the gate. It seems to be increasing a little bit, but it's something that's always gone on, but we've been managing it.
Can I stop you right there? Can I ask you a question about that? When I remember Franklin on Saturdays used to make a patrol, the city workers,
Yeah.
down 8 Mile, for the people that lose garbage on the way to the, way to Resi. Seeing that Franklin does not patrol 8 Mile, Raymond does now. Is that something that we should ask Raymond? Maybe they should patrol, because it really kind of pissing me off that there's a lot of garbage that gets blown off. It's not his fault. There's tires in the ditch. There's some up on 112th I noticed the other day. There's people that lose getting here. Is that something that should mention to Raymond, that, well, since you're monitoring 8 Mile, maybe your city crew, or you live in the town, Mel, are we out of line by asking maybe the city crew should patrol 8 Mile a little more now?
Well, Raymond has the other half of 8 Mile.
No, they switched.
They switched?
Last year.
Oh.
You know what? Now you understand.
Yeah.
They used to do,
The other side.
but something with a new subdivision over there that Franklin wanted,
Oh, so
to-
they switched.
so they swapped.
Now
So
you
that would
talking
be up
about
to the
DPW or are you talking
Yeah,
about police?
yeah, no. Well, I think police too, because there's more sheriffs running around 8 Mile now than I see more sheriffs, Racine sheriffs than Franklin.
Raymond.
So they did swap.
Raymond could have the town constable do something on Saturdays, because he's.
But I mean, to have, who's got to pick that up?
If it's Raymond's road.
Because it
it's
kind
Raymond's
of
road.
pisses me off that
If they switch, then it would be
Yes,
Raymond's.
Raymond's.
maybe Raymond should be
Yeah.
coming out and picking
Right.
up.
Picking
But
up.
if there's any large things, I never in my life, every time I called him or whatever,
Yeah.
they'd send a truck out and
Right.
pick up. If there was a couch or,
Well,
and that happens all the time.
probably 2 weeks now, there was a couch that was wrapped around the Class B sign.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see
I
that?
saw that.
Well,
And then,
was
then
he
a
aware of
week
it?
later, there was a recliner almost wrapped around the sign on 112th and 8
Did
Mile.
anybody
Yeah.
inform him of it?
I don't know if I did mention,
Not on that one, but my guys will do a lap.
but my whole point is that I don't consider that being his fault.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But they
It would be the
go and
towns.
they will pick it up.
Yeah.
It's a good neighbor
Yeah.
policy.
Well, and the
Yeah.
host agreement says 1,500 feet from any of your gates, and that's just
Because
the way
we
it's
used
laid
to be at a
out.
mattress over on that abandoned, empty
Plus
house
the
there
couches wouldn't be so much fun to
on
pick up.
8 Mile. Here's on the driveway there.
Yes, I noticed that the other
Yeah, and
day.
I mentioned to him he was gonna
Like
send
3
somebody
people
out to
lift
pick
them
it up.
as they fall in the end.
Because I ride around and look too. And the tires, I called him on right away on them, on 112th.
I mentioned this before to some people in Raymond, and they said, well, that's got to be the Franklin people. Okay, it's kind of hard for me to believe Franklin people trying to hurry up and get here to dump. It's kind of hard for me to believe that they're going to shoot past 8 Mile, go down to 7 Mile, cut across, come up 92nd Street or 108th Street to get to the landfill. Doesn't make sense, does it?
No, they come down Oakwood to 45 and in.
Or right down 8 Mile.
Yeah.
So, I guess what I'm saying, it's not all Franklin people doing it.
Oh, no. Well, by no means.
So, but is that something that maybe we should address to Raymond that, well, since you guys swapped and you control 8 Mile now, maybe they should be out,
Checking it out once
yes.
Well, you're big and known in Raymond. Just if you see something like that, I'd just call them and say send your
Oh, you think Cassinson listens to me? Every time I call him, I yell at him.
Billy. Don't you know who you are?
No.
No, but I mean, I had the same situation over on 7 Mile Road. Somebody went down, and most likely the dump was closed.
Yeah.
So right on Walzak Road and 7 Mile Road, one's a county road, one's a town road. They dumped a recliner. So the county guy was up at Drought School, so I stopped and said, "Hey, you think you got an empty truck there? You think you could pick that recliner up? It's wrapped around the street pole, you know." He said, "Well, I think that's on Walzak Road, so I'm going to have you call the town." I said, "You got an empty truck? I'd even help you throw it in." No, man. He said, "I'll take a look at it." Yeah, he took a look at it.
As he went by.
So I called the town up, and the town sent a truck up right away, and the towns have been pretty good about that, I think, you know. So.
But I remember back, years ago when it was only open till noon. When this was only open till noon on Saturday, Franklin, a city truck from Franklin would come down 8 Mile about 12:15, picking up everything that everybody dropped on the way there.
That didn't get it in, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Raymond doesn't work on Saturday.
I was gonna say, you're
No.
not gonna pay overtime, they'll maybe do it on Monday or Tuesday.
Well, that's fine. Have them do it on
As
Monday.
long as they do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Just bring it to their attention,
Yeah.
And the
okay?
DPW may not know that they're supposed to pick that stuff up.
That's what I'm saying. Bring it to their attention, that's their responsibility now.
Well, I'll talk to Jason or Brad or
Well, that should actually be Marvin's. You-
Todd.
as the
I don't know
chairperson.
any of them.
Well, you're the
He's
chairperson.
the Raymond representative.
I know,
He's-
but he's
yeah.
the chair.
Yeah, but with
Should
Raymond,
have a little
yeah,
clout.
you might even have more clout than him, though, I mean, because you've been knowing it
Well,
all your life.
Maybe that's the problem.
that's the problem. I mean, nobody likes me in Raymond. I'm bad. I'm in the trucking business. Nobody likes people that are in trucking.
That is not true.
Okay.
I just wanted to see if maybe we should
Yeah.
tell them to.
Right. Okay, we'll move
I'll
on.
go. Yeah, we're cutting grass right now currently, so we should have grass cutting hopefully wrapped up in the next week or two, depending on my vacation schedule with employees. And then I just wanted to note that we did have a couple fires. One was a truck fire. That truck pretty much just, we don't know exactly what happened. I think it might have been a hydraulic line, but it was last Saturday. Truck went up, and then we did have a landfill fire after hours. We're thinking it might have been a battery underneath the landfill tarp, but it was a Saturday. We were open until 2 o'clock after a holiday, and the fire started at about 4 o'clock. So just a little bit after closure, and lit the tarp on fire and the rest of the area around it. And hauled dirt for a few hours and put it out. But just wanted to note those on the agenda as well. But other than that, everything is overall running pretty smooth on our end. That's kind of.
Any other questions?
Curious on the street.
Mhm.
Obviously, the street has been, driving lanes are clean. The far left lane, it's not really a lane, it's kind of up against the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that could be swept?
I can check.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and I've looked at it coming from both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get past your entrance, it starts to pick up going south. So it's kind of looking like you guys might be dragging more stuff out than they are. I mean, it's obviously you both do.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue either one way or
But,
the other. I just would have to make sure that there's no issues with us sweeping that part of the road and check with DOT and go from there.
That'd be
Any
great.
other questions? Not hearing none, do I have a motion to approve Brad's report?
I make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Communication miscellaneous business, do we have any? Not hearing any, we'll move on. Next scheduled meeting, November 2nd, 2023.
It's not that far away.
Okay,
Oh, it's gonna be snowing by then.
that'll be at City Hall again. Okay,
It's unbelievable.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.